Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We talk about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. I almost forgot what I was going to say. I'm here today with our founder and chief editor, Bill Moore. How's it going today, Bill?
Es geht ganz gut, danke.
Good. Well, hopefully we have a better connection than Tuesday. That was,
Yeah, that was a disaster.
yeah. So, anyways,
Well, it's a good thing because when we do this, hopefully next week, I'll be on oh, come on, I'm thinking
fiber.
laser, not laser fiber. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll be on fiber optic. Both of us on fiber optic now.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's definitely been an improvement in the quality of doing the show with fiber versus, well, you have DSL and I had
Right.
cable.
Yeah.
And to see what difference that made just in connection. Although I've rarely ever had connection loss during the show, but it's happened, but it's pretty rare. Anyways, let's start out talking about the new EPA plan. They're implementing the president's termination of the Biden-Harris electric vehicle mandate. Now, we it was a mandate workaround, right? It was to reduce vehicle emissions by a certain amount by a certain time period, and it's sort of a mandate and sort of not. You know, certain parts of the country are still going to have mandates, and certain parts of the country aren't.
Oh.
It's so and the funny thing is, the states that are still going to have mandates are fairly high population states. So a large portion of the
Mhm.
United States, this really doesn't affect much.
Well, I posted, you can see this on it's one of my editor's picks today. The lead editor's pick is the official EPA press release.
Mhm.
And I just cringed when I read that because how politically slanted uh, the thing is, with basically the condemnation of the Biden administration. And we're going to bring back all these jobs and we're going to get rid of all these things that have hindered American productivity. And, huh? What are you talking about? So I think there's a definite political slant to that. And of course, that's not the only thing they're taking out. There's a whole raft of various air quality, environmental underpinnings that they're going to try their darndest to get rid of. Now, I've also posted another article which is actually above that, which basically goes in and says, "Yeah, that's going to be really hard to do that because there's there's going to be a lot of pushback when they try to implement this. So they can write all the things they want, but there's going to be some serious. I guess if I wanted to be in a growth business right now, I'd be a litigating attorney because there's going to be a whole lot of fights going on. I have lost track how many legal fights the current administration has already stacked against it.
Well, it's because
There,
they're accomplishing so much that
oh
they're gonna ten.
yeah,
Their goal is to 10x the number of lawsuits they get into.
boy, they're if they're creating an employment opportunity, creating American jobs, they're doing it so for the bar association.
Well,
No question.
most of the lawyers in the world live in the United States, so it's like well over 50% of all lawyers on the planet live in the
Yeah.
U.S.
Uh,
There's no
oh,
shortage of them.
yeah, Owen mentioned we still have an EPA. Yes, but it's no longer the Environmental Protection Agency. It's the Emasculated Pollution Agency.
Well, oh, well, there's these discussions, and one of the things that I found is they're reevaluating the Biden's clean trucks plan. There was supposed to be a 2022 heavy duty nitrous oxide rule that results in significant costs, so make it products our trucks deliver, like food and other household goods, more expensive. Now, the thing with this, and I, EV big trucks still haven't caught up on price yet. Okay, there's still a far cry. There's still a couple $100,000 more than a regular truck, but at some point they'll be, in a competitive space, just like cars have managed to become. I mean, Bill and I started doing this show about a year and a half ago together, and in that time, we've gone from EVs aren't much more expensive than gas cars. We can see it coming to the point where now they're pretty much the same price as
Yeah,
gas cars.
pretty close, yeah.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of disparity anymore, and there's some cheaper EVs, although they keep not being sold in the United States.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
they're
yeah, there's Toyota's got this one for 15,000 now.
yeah.
Um, I have a let's see, I guess it's 3 years old now, 2022. Uh,
Mhm.
I have my new EV sitting in the garage right over here. I
Oh,
picked it up
nice.
Tuesday. Yeah.
Where did you get it from?
I got it from a used car dealer over about 10 miles from here.
Did it
So
qualify for the rebate?
it should qualify, but the interesting thing is that I can't do anything necessarily to start the process on my end. They have to do it, and of course, this is a old-timey, typical used car lot dealer
Is this
that
out in Fremont?
no, I know over in Gretna. Okay,
Okay.
and so
Okay.
we picked it up over, and the finance guy, he said, "Well, this was the only EV on the lot. Everything is great big SUVs and things like that.
Right.
This is the only EV on the lot." And so I said, "Well, you want to trade my Fiat in?" Obviously not. What they were offering me was not was obviously an attempt to say, no, we don't want to deal with your vehicle. But what they didn't know is that if they had more EVs, they could probably sell more EVs if they knew and were applying for the credit for
They
people.
weren't aware of credit, were they?
No, they weren't aware of the credit. So I gave them the link and to the finance minister and two of the sales guys, and I said, now do me a favor. I can't do anything until you do it. Go to the EP or oh my God, EPA? No. Anyway, go to the website, federal website, and IRS. Okay, go to the IRS website. I go there and take and register your dealership because they have to do that, and then apply for my credit because what I paid for it. There's a 30% credit that I won't get the full $4,000, but I'll get enough to make it worth my while.
Yeah. So
Well,
here's one hiccup that comes up with the clean vehicle tax credit is if the vehicle was previously received the $4,000 clean vehicle tax credit, then you can't get it again.
oh well, that
Okay.
makes sense. Sure.
Yeah. So if you go on like Carvana as an example, they have a whole lot of Chevy Bolts for sale, but it'll say which ones actually qualify because
Right.
they've got a bunch of them, they're like stacking up now that
Right.
don't qualify
Because they've
because
been
they were previously sold. Now this
previously
is
sold. Yeah.
looking at them nationwide, like
Yeah.
their entire inventory for the country, but they've probably got a dozen that have been previously sold and then they bought them from somebody. I mean that's been out what, a little over 2 years, the
Right.
$4,000 tax credit. And so it's interesting to see that some of these end up back because I think what's happening is the ones that are eligible, the salespeople know this, and when one pops up that they've got coming in, they go ahead and they match it up with a buyer.
Right. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so when you're looking on the website, it's a challenge, but you see this with the Leafs and the Bolts. There's a lot of them that have been sold previously, and in 2 years, somebody decided they just really they weren't that excited by
Yeah.
being in
Well,
such an entry level car.
yeah, that was the story that the salesman was giving me. Well, the previous owner needed something bigger. And he said, "Well, what did he buy?" He said, "Well," and he said, "I can't quite remember, but it may have been a Yukon."
Well, there you go. I mean, that's slightly bigger. It's like 3 times the size, right?
I don't think they make an EV Yukon, right?
Hey,
So
you need to find out the weight of the Bolt and the weight of the Yukon and say, hey, look, this gas vehicle is like twice as heavy as this
yeah, yeah,
EV.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
need to
send it
do
to
that.
our senator.
Well, my current investigation is on the health of the battery because this battery is EPA rated at 259 miles, right?
Mhm.
So I got it all charged up, and it was at 100% stated charge. It's only 173.
Mhm.
So I'm in the process. I've been on the Chevy Bolt, community website, and doing some research on getting a hold of an ODB2
Mhm.
dongle and software on my phone so I can plug the dongle in and read the state of the health of the battery. Because you know, if it's the difference between 173 and 159, 259 is a lot. So
Yes, it is.
is there, is this just that the previous owner, because it was cold and he was running the heater and he was driving, aggressively, um, and that was, bringing the mile down because that typically happens. That happens with me when I drive the Fiat. So that's what I'm trying to figure out is,
Well, if you get a battery rating of 70%, you can trade it. You can go back to Chevy and get them to put a battery in it.
exactly. And that's probably worth the $30 I'll spend on the dongle.
Recurrent.
So
Oh, the
yeah,
dongle. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So Bolt is about 3,700 pounds. The Yukon's 5,700 pounds. So it weighs a whole ton more. A whole ton more. Yeah. Yep. So
Well, okay, so we need to bring this up to our Senator Fisher here, who's
yeah.
promoting this bill to sock us all with a whole bunch of extra taxes because EVs are heavier. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, that whole thing with Deb Fisher really, it's just like, not heard of Google?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
So,
No, probably not. Probably
yeah.
not. No.
Yeah. So,
So anyway, the EPA is going to do, the emasculated pollution agency is is going to take and do everything they can to fix the American economy and make us more, productive aggressively in the world by killing all of the protections to give us clean water, clean air, safe food, although that's not actually EPA's
somebody
fault.
was
Yeah.
somebody was towing a front end loader. Oh wait, no, they weren't towing a front end. There was a front end loader doing some work on one of the streets near my house the other day, and I was pulled up beside it. It was at a traffic light, and anyways, I was like thinking, it's like, that's $250,000 front end loader, and but of course it's diesel. I was there thinking, if it was electric, it would still be $250,000. Because I was thinking about, because we had the Greenland Tech CEO on here, a long time ago, and we're saying it's $250,000, but then you can also get $100,000 tax credit from like the state of New York,
Yeah. Yeah.
and these other incentives that various states have on trying to transition heavy equipment. Now, mind you, this one was going down the road. You can't do that with the EV versions. The EV versions are simply made for yard work, for
Right.
like at
Right.
a dump, or
Yeah.
a shipyard or something else.
Right.
Um, should we try smelting? Um, yeah, well, it depends if we're getting into the steel industry, I suppose.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's just it's interesting kind of to see some of this. But I see this thing about the clean truck plan, and we see all of dang, we see all of like the Rivian vans and things like that going up and down the road. I mean, we see tons of them, right? And of course, Amazon is in Sarpy County for Omaha,
Yep.
but
I
still,
I passed it just the other day.
yeah.
Well, yeah.
But anyways, I mean, we see they really got hundreds of electric vans for the
Yeah.
Omaha market,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's cold here, but somehow they still manage to deliver all the
And
packages.
they deliver all the packages, and the two of the drivers that I've stopped and spoken to, or maybe three now that I think about it, love them. You know, I mean, their job is dependent upon those things working for them and they're getting those packages out, and they love them. In fact, they prefer them over the
Oh
gas
yeah.
models
No,
that they occasionally will get assigned.
well, like I told you, the ones I've talked to say that it's like if they get stuck driving one of the gas ones, they feel like it's a punishment
Yep, yep.
because it's such a different work experience for them.
So
Anyways,
we'll see. Like I said, this will be an interesting next. I don't know if these guys are going to go the full 4 years, to be honest, but we'll see. But hopefully, the nation will be better and bigger and kinder and productive. So
well, the thing is, with almost every president that I can recall in the midterm, either the House or the Senate flips. And so that's just kind of the nature of,
yeah, well,
how our government works, right? All right, well, I want
well,
to move on.
yes,
Let's
please,
I
please.
want to talk about the longbow. So,
Oh
when I
yeah,
first started reading this article, so Tesla and Lucid executives that have left the companies have created this new electric sports car called the Longbow. I was really worried this was going to be Rawlinson where he went.
wow,
And I just like, that would be really you know, a poor move in my opinion. But, um, you know, but it was some other folks that, Daniel Davy, Jenny Kisu, and Mark Tapscott, three industry veterans with a combined resume that cannot be ignored. Two of them worked at Tesla during the development of the Roadster, followed by senior positions at Lucid and BYD. Um, Kisu brings experience and leadership from the electrified marine segment, as she was formerly the CEO of X Shore, an electric boat developer. So I mean, these are nice looking. It kind of reminds you of the Tesla Roadster a little bit, right?
yep,
Similar, like kind of a cross of the Roadster and a Corvette. Because you look at that hood styling.
yep. And
But
there's two models that they Roadster and what was the other one, Sportster or something like that. I forget the
yeah,
name.
so Longbow says the EV brand is a realization of many years of planning and preparation. They've expanded their team to include an arsenal of engineers with backgrounds in road and motorsport, including former employees from Aston Martin, Formula E, Lotus, and Tesla. And
Yeah, and
let's
I
see.
think one of those founding executives also has some background in Volvo, I believe. The lady,
Hmm.
possibly.
That could be. That could be.
Yeah.
Let's see. Bring back some other images. Let's see what we got here. Oh no, that's sharp. That's a sharp color right there.
Hmm. Yeah, they've done some nice design work on that for sure.
Yeah, no question. Yeah. Yeah, they're going to have two EV models, the Speedster and the Roadster. So this is the Roadster, and I'm assuming the Speedster
The
is,
Speedster, that's right, Speedster. Yeah.
yeah, that that looks like it's going to be a $250,000+ car right there.
I don't,
Probably.
I don't think so. I think they were. Maybe I'm confusing another story, but I thought they were under 70.
Well, actually, they're saying they're set to arrive in 2026, under $93,000.
Yeah, yeah,
Both models will weigh under 2,200 pounds.
yeah. I think it was 995 kilograms or something like
Right.
that.
Yeah, 995. Um, let
Hey,
me see.
speaking of aloe, they
Hmm.
just pulled up in front of my house.
That's funny. Um, let's see. Here we go with one of my big questions. So these articles never address finance, and of course, I'm in a space where I've learned to really question, what I consider to be important. Okay. And
Right.
it's great. These guys probably, though, with their experience, they probably have been able to attract plenty of funding. But, look at the brilliance of the two guys from Aptera. And yet, where's our
Yeah,
Apteras, right?
but they didn't come with that kind of background that this team has. You
Yeah,
know, the one guy was into boats.
mhm,
You know, the ski boats. I forget, there's a name for it, where they ski down the canals with something or
mhm.
another. So that was the one guy's back, and I forget the other ones, but it's not like they came in with heavy automotive engineering design experience.
Right.
And as we saw with Fisker, that doesn't always make
Make it work either.
doesn't work either. But it sounds like they've got a pretty solid team here.
Yeah. Well, and that's actually they bring up in the electric article, they talk about this. It's like, will these EVs get made, or is this another startup with cool designs that will run out of money before it scales? We were talking about the whole aviation thing yesterday. It's like
Yeah,
aviation,
yeah,
it's another one of those companies like Lilium. The owners just decided, well, I'm going to put 400 million in, or I'm not, or the Joe is out, or I'm not putting any more money in this.
yeah,
And that was the end of aviation. Although
yeah.
aviation may come back,
Oh, I
so because
think
they
they
didn't
will.
actually bankrupt, but
Yeah, no, they just having a managerial dispute. So yeah,
it's a pretty big dispute where the
yeah,
guy's saying,
yeah.
if this guy's not out, I'm not
I'm
doing
not giving.
anything.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I mean, what are you thinking? Because it's a good project. It's a good project, and they're just kind of you know making that goofy. I mean, I really don't know what to think. Um, let's see. I've got an article about Toyota is going to release 3 new EVs.
Oh, before we get to that, let me. So, Aviation is based in Arlington, Washington, which is a
Hmm.
little town north of Everett, which is where Boeing is. It's about 20 miles north of Everett. Um, and that's where they're based, but they wanted to locate there because of the heavy aerospace designed, infrastructure. It turns out that Zero Avia, and I think, I don't know if we'll discuss them or not, but they have this new fuel cell that they have developed that's like half the parts, scalable in terms of the adjustable in terms of the power output thing,
Hmm.
which has been designed specifically for the aviation market, for unmanned aerial vehicles and for VTOL vehicles. Turns out, I didn't know this. Turns out they're based in Everett, which is
Oh,
really interesting. So you've got Aviation just 20 miles north up in Arlington, and then you've got now Zero Avia, which is actually a European company. At least that's where we were founded, but the development of that fuel cell
well, we can
drive
talk about that.
system. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we can go
But
to
anyway,
that article next.
yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so Zero Avia or Avia flexible fuel cell test shows expanded UAV and VTOL capabilities, opens up a range of new applications. So I'm assuming this is going to be a mix of electric and gas, or electric and hydrogen, or
Yeah, that would be my guess what they're going to do, because I think although they did mention in there that it has the ability to adjust the amount of power output from like 100 kilowatts to something like 600 kilowatts. So almost like throttling up, I guess, an
or
aircraft
maybe
engine.
coal and steam.
But
Here comes the steam
what?
powered UAV.
Yeah, well, the only thing that spits out the back end is water. Um, so I gave a talk to the local EAA chapter on Monday. Um, and as I mentioned, there was a couple hecklers, although they were being good natured about it, saying, "Yeah, it'll never work," kind of a thing. And I said, well, the problem is, of course, is that even though we're up to what is 250, 300 watt hours per kilogram in energy density, um, that once we get to 700, what I've read is that we can start thinking seriously about an all electric, at least, short haul and maybe even medium haul electric aircraft.
Mhm.
Then when I read this, and they are up to 1 kilowatt, not the portion of that, but they're up to a full kilowatt of power out of that.
Per kilogram.
Yeah, per kilogram, which is that gets us, well past what is thought to be needed for an electric airplane. So it'd be very interesting. I mean, they've already been testing and flying prototype aircraft. They have, it looks like they've doing something with an airplane, what a Canard type aircraft, probably looks like it's a Velocity, that they're apparently powering with this system. And then they of course got the twin engine. I don't know if that's a Dronier or whose is it, but it probably 19, 20 passenger aircraft that they have built. And I think there's even a photograph of it taking off.
Now,
So
some of their stuff is hydrogen. It looks like they're doing some things with hydrogen.
exactly. Well, that was where the fuel cell would come in.
Mhm.
You got two options for hydrogen. You can run it through a fuel cell, or you can burn it. You put that through a turbine, or you put that through a internal combustion engine. So okay, dirigible take. Hey, there's work being done on that, Owen. Seriously, there's a couple of projects that I know of that are doing this. So are working on not well. Yeah, maybe you could consider them dirigibles. Yeah, maybe.
That's going to be the new green thing is high speed Zeppelins.
High speed Zeppelins. I don't know if they're going to use hydrogen as the lifting gas,
No.
but fuel cell to propel to power it, possibly.
Yeah, no more Graf Zeppelin. Um, let's see. Well, anyways, that article really didn't get that in depth, but just a
No,
press release from them.
yeah, it's just a
But
press release. So we'll see. But I took it in context of what I was talking about to the EAA chapter, Experimental Aircraft Association chapter, here in Omaha this past Monday night, and the limitations of current electric aircraft. I kind of walked them through what all is out there, who's making electric airplanes, why they're making electric aircraft. I don't want to call them necessarily planes because some of them don't have wings; they just have props, and away they go. So yeah, this could be a way forward. I'm gonna watch it interestingly. Okay,
all right.
moving on.
Yeah, so Toyota chairman Akio Toyoda predicts that electric vehicles will never surpass a 30% market share, no matter
Mhm.
how much no matter how much the tech advances. Now, you know, that's a tough bet to make when you consider what BYD is doing. Okay,
Yeah,
you see
leading
all the
the
areas where BYD is, doing things, making cheap EVs, making all kinds of different models. They're
selling them
getting
in
out there.
Japan.
Yeah, and they're selling them in Toyota's markets other than the United
Yeah,
States and doing quite well. And that's their intent, is to take over from Toyota as the world's leading auto
yeah,
manufacturer.
yeah,
It looks like they're on track to do that in the next 5 to 10
yeah.
years.
But what about those YouTube videos that show that engine that's going to bury EVs? Right? It's up some.
Oh,
I
it's
guess one of
always
these days.
something. It's
Yeah, I got to go look at that someday and listen to what the
Oh, I've
audio
seen
is.
these ones, showing, Toyota introduces $10,000 new pickup truck,
Right.
or Toyota releases,
Oh, the more interesting
hydrogen
one.
made from water, and
Yeah. Well, you
it's like,
can make it from that, but it's not the best way.
yeah, it's just so funny when Bill and I figured out that the difference between hydrogen and electric is about 16 times more expensive for
Yeah.
hydrogen to
Yeah.
fuel your vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the opposite of being more efficient. But one of the so anyways, here are some images of some of these vehicles they're considering bringing to market. The thing is, they make trucks. So this doesn't seem so far-fetched.
Yeah, and what
You know,
I should point out that
it's
that is
canoe. It's a canoe truck.
yeah, I, I should point out that that is a concept vehicle that was
Hmm.
introduced in 2023.
Oh,
So that we're kind of I mean, you got all this thing that, oh, this is what they're going to be showing. We don't know if that's actually what they're going to show or not. If when you read the article, they say, well, they didn't say a lot about it, but we're going to guess at what we think it'll be, and then they ran this whole series of photographs from a 2023 car show, rollout
oh,
of the vehicle.
yeah. So they make a Hilux electric vehicle in some markets already. I think
Right.
it's like Thailand or something like
Yeah,
that,
probably.
and
Yeah.
something really random. Um, the upcoming model appears to be a dual cab, whereas the electric Hilux skips the rear doors. Um, let's see what else they have. They're going to have something that's like a Land Cruiser electric. That would be probably a good choice. Although the Land Cruiser doesn't, I don't think it sells crazy well, because the problem is when you're talking $100,000 SUV, I think most people are just going to buy a Lexus if they were looking at it. But
Yeah.
unless you're a warlord, if you're a warlord in some African nation, Land Cruiser is really popular, while the rest of your folks
Yeah.
drive right around in the Hilux.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, well, yeah. Oh, and you'd think Toyota's got the Tacoma, but they used to have smaller EV trucks with single cab, or not
Yeah.
EV trucks, but smaller gas trucks. But there was this thing called in the U.S. called the chicken tax, and that's why for some reason they don't sell those small trucks anymore. And I
Yeah, they
don't,
were trying to protect the U.S. car manufacturers.
who aren't
That
making them either.
and
But if you look here in the U.S., a vehicle that I really am fond of is the Ford Maverick hybrid.
mhm,
It's like
mhm.
it's rated at 44 mpg, which for a pickup truck, that's unbelievable. I know
Oh
people that
yeah,
own them. They say they only get about 36, but that's driving them. Omaha, you can get pretty good gas mileage. You tend to get closer to highway mileage than you do city mileage, if
yeah,
depending on how far you're going, because we have a lot of highways and they don't typically sit at a crawl, so you can generally move pretty fast on our freeways here. um,
yeah. We
and
don't have any I-5s that I'm aware of here in
yeah,
Ohio.
and so it's a little different in that
Yeah.
respect, but they've got three new Europe-bound electric vehicles that are going to avoid the busy branding. So they're going to not going to use the BZ in the name. Now, apparently that was supposed to stand for Beyond Zero, but
Right.
people like me call it the busy. The
Yeah.
busy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Somebody needs to get together with the marketing guys and figure out something. Well, but then again, all these car makers have had issues with how do we differentiate the brand, from our normal gas models, right? So they come up with X's in front of it or I's in front of it or some kind of unfathomable nomenclature that doesn't really, explain what it is. And I don't know if I'd have a better answer, frankly. But yeah, I mean, they've got some cool kind of stuff
yeah, it
that
doesn't
could
look
come
big enough
out.
to be a Land Cruiser, but maybe I'm. So to me, like the Kia EV9 would be sort of in a similar class
Mm.
with a Land Cruiser, but it certainly doesn't look like something you go on safari in Africa in.
No, no, and I'm wondering, you put that thing in a wind tunnel, and what's the drag coefficient of that thing with that blunt nose? So,
Yeah. Well, anyways, Toyota news is always kind of weird because it's just like, um, what do you believe? I mean, like we did a video on the whole thing of the 745-mile battery that Toyota is doing. That's a fluoride ion battery.
mm,
And man, the amount of negative comments I've had on that video is just nuts.
yeah,
Just yeah, right. Like Toyota's going to do anything. We keep seeing all this news for Toyota, nothing ever happens. And yet Toyota keeps plugging away. I see people say that Toyota's done, and it's like, well, they're still the
Oh
biggest car
no.
manufacturer in the world. I
Yeah,
don't know.
no.
It's just funny.
It
It's funny to
just
just see.
seems to, there seems to be a dichotomy at the upper level of the management there that they can't really decide, you know. It's like, I think it's maybe it's an older generation versus younger generation. And the old guys are saying, let's stick with what we know, what's been successful. And the younger guys saying, no, look at what these Chinese are doing to us. So,
So Forbes sent us an article on the best EV cashback and financing deals for March. Okay. Now
oh,
they
I'm
listed a
seeing
lot
that.
of cars, and some of this, isn't so amazing. But a couple of them are kind of neat. Audi has some unique ones. Audi e-tron GT Quattro, well, 7,500 cash back or 0.99% financing. That's not that great. But their Audi RS e-tron GT Quattro has $12,000 cash back. That one's kind of a big one.
Wow. Yeah.
But there's a lot of deals going on in the Chevy space. They've got 75. Well, you got the $7,500 tax credit on the Equinox plus 0% financing for 5 years. So that's a pretty hefty one. There's a lot of them that's just the tax credit. The Ford F-150 Lightning is the tax credit, $7,500 plus $3,000 to $5,000 cash back, depending on the trim. So
Mm,
that one's not bad. Of course, you're still talking a $80,000 truck.
yeah.
You know, did they invest in Panasonic for the batteries? Um, I'm not
I
sure.
don't, I don't, I don't,
Uh,
I don't know. I haven't looked.
yeah, I know Toyota's got a lot of money going into battery production for EVs and hybrids out in the Carolinas.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, most of that's all nickel metal hydride, of course. They haven't done anything specifically that, now I don't know let me back up. I don't know what's in the busy fork. But generally, most of that Panasonic stuff, I think has been mainly nickel metal hydride for their hybrids.
yeah. So
But,
some of the
but
better
please, if
ones.
somebody knows, knows more recent information, please share it because I'd like to know.
All right. The Genesis electrified version of the GV70 has $10,000 cash back. That's pretty hefty. Let's see. Honda Prologue has the 7,500 tax credit and 0% for 60 months, which we've seen that one. That one's been kind of exciting to see Honda really jump out there, and that
Oh
Prologue's
yeah,
been pretty
yeah.
successful. See if there's anything else that was real notable. The Kia EV9 has 11,000 cash back and 0% for 6 years. Oh, I'm sorry, or 0% for 6 years.
Oh,
Well,
you take
you'd be
okay.
dumb not to take the $11,000. Um, the thing is, on the EV9, it doesn't list that they're eligible for the $7,500, but so I
Yeah.
guess maybe it's only on Korean-made versions. So maybe they're not including ones that were made in Georgia because
Mm.
they're coming out of Georgia already. Um, some of this gets a little funny. It's funny, like the Lexus RZ 450e is not apparently not eligible for the tax credit. Um, Nissan Leaf 8,500 cashback. Now the Leaf is a pretty inexpensive vehicle to start with. $8,500 is pretty good
Should
plug
should
for that.
should easily bring it below 30.
Yeah, I mean
Easily.
that's a pretty decent deal. But there was a huge list. There was like 25 models. Yeah, and if you lease it, you should also be able to get that tax credit as well.
All right.
So yeah, it gets up there in the deals. All right, Bill, that was pretty much what I had for today.
Pretty much
Um,
what you had. Let me see what we covered. The things that where'd we go? Where are they here? Hang on. Okay, longbow. We did that. The zero avia. Yeah, we're good, man. We
yeah,
covered
didn't.
covered the stuff that you wanted to cover and the stuff I wanted to cover. So
All right. Well, folks, thanks for tuning in. Bill and I will be back Tuesday We have an opening if we want to bring a guest on Wednesday. And anyways, but folks, we'll see y'all next week.